as all the things we have. This is where we work, mainly in the Norwich area, but we also work confidently in these areas as well. So meet the team. So put your hand up if you see your name on the screen. So I tend to look after the finance and marketing side of things in the business. Joe takes a bit of a lead on compliance and sorting out slightly more interesting and tenant and landlord issues, I would say. That's probably the best way to describe your job, Joe. So Adam, viewings, and tenant relationships. So Adam's phone, I think, probably runs red hot a lot of the time with people he's just done viewings with and questions that they might have. George, hands up, George. Well done, George. So once a tenant wants to take the house, George would take them from the application process to the keys, basically. So all of that application process, whether it's referencing, whether it's talking to the landlord about the acceptability of that tenant, George will take them through that process and is ably assisted by some of the assistants in the Philippines. Verity, hi Verity. So Verity, tenancy and property management. So big area of stuff. So all of our 650 tenants or so have access to Verity, and so do our landlords, and a lot of that communication, most of that communication, Verity deals on a day-to-day basis. You can imagine how busy that kind of desk can look sometimes with questions about various things. So maintenance comes in, the landlord's consulted, the contract is consulted, tenants are informed, etc. So all that process is managed at Verity's desk, and Joe gets involved in that process as well. Macy's our newest recruit, like Adam said, 2 weeks old, and inspections and viewing support is her primary role. So we need to go and see our houses regularly, and I was doing that until quite recently, and now I'm training Verity to do that as well. So we've got 6 assistants in the Philippines, and each assistant is aligned with one of the people in the Norwich office. So we find that creates more resource for our Norwich team to get to know landlords, get to know tenants, and do the things that we do well. And the admin can be passed to a different person. So that's a bit about us, and as I say, we'll kind of get to know you a bit better as the afternoon progresses. So 4 graphs I think that would interest landlords about and give you a flavour of what's going on in the sort of the macro world. So the first one we've got is interest rates. You can see interest rates. This is going back to 75, pretty sporadic but pretty high. But we've been used to interest rates since 95 to being around the 5 and 6% mark. That's been normal for quite a long time. And then 2008 they crashed, and they've been very, very low for a very long time. So this is what we've got used to as an interest rate environment. And now we might find, if we have mortgages on our properties, that we are paying more. If we're out of the fixed term, we're paying more for what the money that we're borrowed. So it seems that's plateauing. The banker base rate might be plateauing. It hasn't gone up in the last few rounds, but that's a cost to your business if you have mortgages, and that's one thing that's worth noting. However, on the other side of things, rental prices do tend to go up over time. So if you look over this period, 17 to 20, the average, so East of England and the UK excluding London, the average has been around, like, I don't know, 2% maybe. Sort of look at that period there. But more recently, 2020 to 22 and into 23, inflation, the rental price inflation has been 6, 8 and peaking at 10%. So there are movements both ways in the cost of doing business as a landlord and also the revenue that you can expect to generate. I think this is quite important to at least know where those numbers are in your area and in your street, etc. So you can react to those things. This is an interesting one. So since 2004 and to 2016, the demand for your products, your rental properties, has likely doubled. So this is the number of households who are in rented properties, and it started at 2 million. It's now at 4 million. So bit of plateau here, bit of a plateau here, but this is the period of growth. So you can make some assumptions about where that might look. So demand for rental properties in the private rented sector looks to me, well, it certainly has increased. So 4 million people in rented properties, likely to go up, I would say, over the sort of medium and long term. And the other one, we obviously like talking about house prices. So what is your asset worth? You'll probably have a quite good feel for that, I suspect, being investors and homeowners and stuff. But knowing that can inform some decisions. So this is a a 12-month percentage change. So look, if I look sort of more recently over this period, looks to me like 3 to 5% maybe over that period, a bit higher there, a bit lower there. And then nothing much happened in this period here. But recently, since COVID, it's obviously rocketed. So some of our house prices have gone up in value in that time, but now the growth is zero at the moment, according to this graph. So who knows what's going to happen in the future? Savills put out a report the other day that suggested over the next 5 years it might be 18% growth. So it's nice to hear that growth might be coming back into the market, as commented on by Savills. So those are the things that might affect you as landlords, whether the revenue, demand or cost of doing business as a landlord. So how can Jones&Co help you? And I think a lot of this might be, you'd expect this, but I just want to iterate kind of the things that we do for landlords. So we can market your property. Tenant screening, I think in this high demand environment, it's particularly important to do some good screening on tenants to make sure that you get the best tenant you can. So that's our job. Legal compliance, advise on legal requirements, so we'll do some of that today. I think you'll know a lot of it already, but the landscape is changing. We obviously collect rent and give you a statement to make sure that you see how much you've earned and the costs in that month, so you can kind of see what your property, how it's performing. Property maintenance, financial management, tenant relations. So we are the first point of contact to your tenants. And market analysis, that we've just done a bit of that now, that suggests that rental prices have increased, and knowing that is quite important. Vacancy management and emergency response. So those are the ways that this agency can help you as landlords.